Malcolm X said that a man who stands for nothing will fall for anything. Hello, my name is Brandon Hardy. I'm a freshman here at Hampton University with an undecided major from Greenville, North Carolina. Malcolm X is a famous activist who was working to help the lives of African Americans become better by using the lessons he learned throughout his inspirational life. Malcolm X's young life started the fire that made him great. An article on PBS.org called Timeline of Malcolm's Life says Malcolm growing up in Lansing, Michigan grew a great mistrust for white people. This is because his house was burnt down and his father was murdered by a group of Ku Klux Klan members. When he moved from Michigan to Harlem, he turned to crime and later got caught and sent to jail. The crime he committed was armed robberies, and he committed it with a friend named Jarvis. He stole a very expensive watch from a pawn store, which gave him 10 years in prison. Going to prison opened his eyes on the situation he was in. A convict named Bimby, as a nickname, opened Malcolm's eyes to learn and develop his mind. During this, he converted to Islam based his life around that. After his release from prison, he changed his last name from Little to X, which was to allow people to show that he was a new man and he was changing his identity. The Islamic conversion opened his eyes and rubbed off the way Malcolm thought and approached things. A website called ushistory.org, and the article is called Malcolm X and Nation of Islam, says the Islam conversion happened a lot inside prison in the 1950s when Malcolm X was inside. The Nation of Islam was teaching them and wanting blacks to do things on their own. These ideas were wanting blacks to open their own schools, churches, and support networks without the help of white people as a crutch. Malcolm X became the leading spokesman of the black Muslims. The way Malcolm X and the black Muslims taught was to not have help by white people, to not trust white people, and to be on their own as African Americans. Malcolm X had an impact on people as a whole, even though his life began to come to an end. History.org is a website and has an article called Malcolm X. Malcolm X and Martin Luther King were known to be different from each other, and Martin Luther King was the one that was one of Malcolm X's well-known close friends that was an activist like himself. Martin Luther King was known to be the peaceful one, and Malcolm X was the aggressive and violent one. So Martin Luther King would be non-violent, while Malcolm X was violent. Malcolm X justified the situation by saying that violence was a self-defense, which would mean that blacks had to take what is theirs by any means necessary, which was being violent. Later, Malcolm X changed his ways when he went to the Nation of Islam. When he went there, he saw and met people of not the same color as he was, which was white, and he said he could call them his brothers. And he said that he no longer focused on his messages being to just African Americans, but to all races. So then after he had came back and decided to lead the black Muslims after him, which led to his death in February 21st, 1965, which was him getting shot on a stage in front of people. Malcolm X's story was taught many lessons and has had an impact in his life and to the present day. Malcolm X gave messages to pertain to people of color at the level they were at. He always talks about how people should do things for themselves and not for others, which makes Malcolm X the great historical figure he is known as today.